It's a bridge. Just goes around the corner. Walking on the fighting side of me.
That don't look like it. It goes down.
It don't. It don't go down.
Robert, it goes down.
No, it don't.
It do go down.
Oh! Don't.
Please, Robert, please don't do that.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. In today's analysis, we're going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin charts, as usual, also taking a look at Chainlink and Ethereum. I want to share with you my thoughts on the lower time frames, putting the focus once again on the high time frames as well here, as that has been a main focus of our videos over the last few days, since we have been dealing with high time frame support regions and resistance regions here from our January 2021 lows and highs. Therefore, putting the focus on these high time frame support and resistances, and also going through our momentum oscillators. We did see a confirmation of our stochastic, which I will discuss, that we spoke about in yesterday's video as well. So I hope that you enjoy today's video. As you guys know, I don't like to waste any time, so let's get right into it. Now, starting off here on the 1 day, we do see our 1 day stochastic in this morning's closure finally confirm a cross down. Now we can definitely go ahead and take a look at the last time we actually crossed down from this region. That was going to be around the last 2 times basically. So going back to when this trend line formed here, back on the 21st of February, that was our highs from 58,000, bringing us down to 43,000. Then once again here, the 13th of March, bringing us down from about 61,800 down to about $50,000. Now we've hit that resistance once again, and we have been rejected from the critical zone. Now, ultimately, I do not think personally that this is going to be as tough of a rejection as we saw here, because obviously at this point we were actually losing momentum on the weekly time frame. However, right now we're actually not losing momentum on the weekly time frame. Our momentum, such as the stochastic, has actually just turned up on the weekly. So based on the daily right now, we still do have a chance of setting in that higher low. And with high highs and higher lows, that is going to give us a bullish market structure. Of course, we did end up moving up for multiple days in a row here. 9 days of just green candles. That was a 43% move to the upside. Therefore, once we do see a little bit of rejection, that is not the end of the world. There is a chance for us to set in a higher low. Now, we have come back to the first critical support region that we spoke about in yesterday's video. This was very important to me, because you guys know that the bread and butter of my trading is going to be around these pivots and just around these regions, as they give us nice confluence and areas of interest to be watching. We know that there is quite a high probability of hitting the monthly pivot every single month, and since price action was very close to it, we did end up making a drive up for this monthly R1. And where are you going to be generally targeting after the R1? It is going to be down at the pivot, and that has been an 11% rejection thus far. There's going to be profit takers back at the pivot and potentially counter traders, and that's exactly what we're seeing on the lower time frames. Since we did hit that low, if we go into the lower time frames, we have bounced up from the lows around almost 2% here. So that is thus far a good move to the upside, at least for a scalp and as a day trade, but we have not seen that big of a reaction just yet. Of course, we haven't technically tested it. It was just a very, very close front run, but you will see these with big levels such as we speak about here on this channel. So breaking the monthly pivot is when I would start to look for a move down to the value area high, which is our next critical support region. So I discussed 2 levels with you all, and the monthly pivot was, of course, the first important one, and then this value area high at $35,862. So as long as we are above these regions, I think that the bulls still do have a chance to come back and to be able to maintain this current uptrend that we saw last week. And I don't think that it is the end of the world right now that we are dipping to the downside. But if we do find acceptance back below the value area high, that's when I would start to look at least an oscillation to the upper and the lower point of controls here, which is also where the monthly S1 is. And I don't think that, at this point, this is looking probable with the data that we do have. However, it is nice to see that we have some very clear levels to be trading off, whether it is for long positions or short positions. So if the bulls are able to maintain here, if it is above the monthly pivot or the value area high and reset this oscillator, such as the stochastic, I would actually look at this very nicely. So maintaining a range or slightly down and a range with the stochastic resetting, ready for the next run potentially, that would be the bullish scenario here. So the daily here, I would still be looking at that. Of course, the daily RSI did lose that moving average that we looked at as well. And I would like to see this also create a little bit of a base and not lose its structure that it did have. This needed to reset as well, so it is nice to see that it has reset. Now, moving on to the 4-hour time frame, or we can even go on to the 1 hour here and take a look at the current resistances that we do face on the lower time frames. So as you can see, since we did reject from our high time frame resistance, that has been a rejection of around 11%. We have spoke about this resistance for the past 80 days on this channel, and it is a pretty clear one that you guys, I'm sure, have been able to see as well. So going from the 1st of August highs here, and just pulling a little bit of a channel, this is the range that we are currently in, and I do like how well it has been respected. We've seen a rejection, on the 2nd once again here. We did get quite close to it here on the 3rd, and then on the 3rd we ended up eventually, testing that. And that is, of course, going to be earlier on in the day today, so depending on when you watch this video. And from the top, we did see another 4.5% rejection. So this range is very nice to see. You could be looking at it as a falling channel that typically does break to the upside. I personally do not trade patterns, but looking at this, that is going to be a good sign of at least looking for these short scalps and even long scalps from this channel. And what I actually like about this one, though, is that it lines up with my critical resistance point now. So based on the lower time frames, we have broken the weekly pivot. And what do I want to see is a break back above the weekly pivot at $39,218. What I like about it is going to be that this channel does kind of these lower high structure that we have been setting. The top of the channel is completely in confluence with the weekly pivot, at least at the moment. Of course, it is downsloping, but that is going to be an area of confluence that I would like to see price action get above to stop this, sell pressure that we are seeing right now. As long as we are below there, a little bit of ranging action to even down, I would not mind at all about, because that will still help our oscillators reset on the high time frames, such as the daily. I've spoken about mainly everything on those high time frames over the last few days, so I don't want to give you guys too much repetitiveness here. But that would be what we're looking at on the lower time frames. And of course, we do have a potential cross up coming here soon on the 4-hour stochastic, which would be good for a potential trade as well. This is going to be, the last time we did cross up here was, of course, going to be back on the 21st of July. Now, I had a question about this before. Obviously, the last cross up here, you have to consider that the daily stochastic was situated in the same area, all the way down at the critical zone. Therefore, we would not be looking at this as the same kind of thing until resistance is reclaimed. I mean, we came back to high time frame support with the stochastic setting up here, and we spoke about long positions down here, if you guys do remember, as we did have the 4-hour really setting up nicely, the 1 day, everything was setting up nicely, and therefore that made for a nice trade. But this is a little bit different right now. We've already had a 40% gain on the price action. Therefore, the more conservative way to trade this would be waiting for obviously a confirmed cross up or a confirmed closure, let's say on a 4-hour closure back above the weekly pivot as well, and that would be very nice. Now, we have taken out the lows of the 30th of July and potentially seeing a swing failure pattern here right now. So if the bulls were to stop the price action right now here in its tracks, this is where they would need to come in. If not, I would be looking at the next region, which is the weekly S1 at $36,395, which is going to be the lows on the 27th of July as well. That is going to be a fantastic opportunity in my personal opinion, because we do have some high time frame confluence, but also this liquidity here will be taken before our move from 36,000 up to 42,000, meaning all those long positions that potentially didn't take profit, and of course the liquidations here are just going to be going crazy at that point, which is going to be nice to see, because obviously we do not want to be longing into high time frame resistance. Those market participants are always going to hurt in the market. You want to be longing, such as in these regions that we spoke about, not longing into the area that's on the first hit we want to short. For the past 80 days, I've been speaking about confirmed closures above this region of confluence with volume and open interest increasing. So we did not obviously see any confirmed closures above this region. So we're going to be a little bit more careful, but now we have a chance to set in a high low on the daily, which would be nice for the bulls either way. So the VIX is also showing us some green here. That is going to be a potential market bottom coming in soon. But like I said yesterday, the 4-hour VIX at this point, it's not going to be too important because we're seeing the daily momentum flip. And that's why I said that yesterday. Just because we did see 2 green bars doesn't exactly mean that we're going to be, reversing from here. We have to consider our high time frames firstly, and then if we are trading in the lower time frame. So that's very important. And the 4-hour I would consider, a medium time frame here. So that's about it for Bitcoin, really. We've spoken about all the main factors in yesterday's video and over the last few days. And so let's move on to LinkUSD charts and Ethereum charts. So LinkUSD did come back to that high time frame resistance, did bounce up quite nicely. And as you guys can see, this is actually around a 14% bounce back to the R1. So since we are getting rejected here, I would actually look at moves down to the weekly pivot potentially if the price action does not stop here as the weekly pivot, as of course we did get a rejection from the R1. Now, where is going to be the general targets after a rejection from the R1? It's going to be at that pivot. That is going to be where profit takers are going to come in and potentially counter traders, meaning longing to the upside here. I would actually be interested in potentially that trade as we do have the value area high right below it as well. I would not leave any orders here. I would actually just wait for the price action because we do have our swing lows as well. So that's definitely a very interesting trade. Price did make a higher high, but not on a candle closing basis, which is what I personally care about. Wicks are just used, as swing failure patterns in the market, and failure swing patterns always happen in the market anyway. So this is actually a perfect short setup because we do come up, take out the highs, hit the R1, which is resistance, very easy to manage. Once we take out the highs, close back below it, your stop loss goes above the highs, and then you have resistance and the highs as confluence, and that is thus far a 7.5% rejection. So the critical support here is the weekly pivot at $20.97 down to the weekly value area high, which will be 2042. Do not want to see acceptance back below here because that would give us very high probabilities of at the very least oscillating the upper point of control and the lower point of control, which is much lower at 1780. Therefore, price action needs to hold kind of this range that it has right now at the highs and reaccumulate here while the high time frames, just like Bitcoin, do reset. So let's move on to the Ethereum charts. Let's start to wrap this up. Ethereum USD, going on to our Coinbase chart, we have a nice move down to a weekly pivot. So I do actually like to see that. The same kind of thing here, rejecting near the R1 and where the profit takers generally come in. Right here, we did get quite a, about a 1% bounce. So quite a small bounce. However, ultimately, this is support. So right now, support is holding. So any 4-hour closures below here, I would say that that's when, be looking at this a little bit more bearishly. So looking at the 27th of July highs, that is obviously where we did reject quite significantly. This was a significant rejection on the lower time frames of about 11.7%. If you remember here, we did speak about this setup. I had it set up kind of like this, saying that this has set in another higher low so we can look for longs once again. And we had quite a nice move up. But this resistance here did stop us. And therefore, once price action does break above it, that's going to be support once again. And so we've bounced from the weekly pivot in confluence with the 27th of July highs. I like to see that. Any closures back below there, I'd be targeting moves lower, potentially firstly to the 2,318 region or to the S1. But that would really start to hurt the longs because obviously a lot of longs did come in for Ethereum. And for confirmed close, and if we are able to hold above the weekly pivot here, that would generally be good for the price action. And same exact thing we just spoke about for Link to reset those oscillators and then be able to actually move up and break the R1 at $2,677. And at that point, I think we'll be testing the $2,800 region at the weekly R2 and the $3,000 region at the weekly R3. So there would be the regions that I would be watching for trades. And of course, if we are looking at the 4-hour, you can be trading it off 4-hour closures. I would not be saying, just because we are pulling back here, it is the end of the world. Remember, things do not go up in one straight line. We need to, liquidate these positions firstly before moving back up. We've just had quite a nice rise for Ethereum, just like Bitcoin. Therefore, this would make it a very key area to actually be looking for a reset on those high time frames, just like we have for Bitcoin and Chainlink. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I appreciate your time. Go ahead and leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to join the private technical analysis group, go ahead and send me a message on Discord, and I will get to all of you hopefully. So have a lovely rest of your day, and I will catch you in tomorrow's one.